The Green 19 podcast presents The Unwanted Getaway. The Strobush and Robertson families had planned this trip for months. A cabin deep in the northern woods, far from the city, seemed like perfect escape. Thomas and his wife Gwen needed rest after long hours of work. James, Thomas's brother, brought his girlfriend Addie, hoping she'd grow closer to the family. Alex and his wife Madison wanted romance. And Thomas's buddy Deshaun, longtime friend from Sherwin-Williams, came along for the fun. And last but not least, a bounding, happy dog, Scotty, the family dog, who came as a protective and fearless pup. The drive wound up into the mountains, through stretches of pine and cedar so thick they blocked the sun. Cell service disappeared 2 hours before they reached the cabin, and with each mile, the road narrowed until there was nothing but dirt and gravel. They finally pulled up to a clearing at dusk. The cabin was bigger than expected, but not in a comforting way. The logs were blackened with age, the roof sagged in the middle, and the windows reflected the last orange light of the sun like dead eyes.
Looks cozy,
Addie muttered, clutching James's arm. It's perfect, Thomas said, forcing cheer as he carried bags inside. Scotty ran circles around the cabin, barking at the tree line before darting back toward Gwen, tail stiff, ears perked. Inside, the place smelled of dust and wet wood. Old furniture sat beneath sheets. A massive stone fireplace dominated the living room. The power hummed weakly, the lights dim. But by the time they got a fire going, the atmosphere shifted. They laughed, shared drinks, and cooked up a meal. Deshaun told stories about their paint store customers, making Thomas laugh so hard he nearly spit his beer. Madison and Gwen talked at the table while Scotty laid, curled by the fire, tail thumping in her sleep. For a while, it felt like the trip might actually be what they all needed. The first night. It wasn't until nearly midnight that the mood began to change. As the fire burned low, Gwen froze. "Do you hear that?" Everyone quieted. From within the walls came faint scratching. "Probably mice," James said, though his voice wasn't convincing. The sound grew louder, scratching, scraping, then tapping. Slow, deliberate, always in threes. Deshaun grabbed a poker and rapped the wall with a grin.
"There, problem solved."
Everyone jumped when the stacked firewood in the corner suddenly collapsed. Logs rolled across the floor, one stopping at Gwen's foot. Silence fell. Scotty's head shot up. A low growl rumbled in her chest as she stared into the far corner of the room, ears pinned back. "All right," Thomas said quickly. "Let's just get some sleep." No one argued, but none of them slept soundly. The scratching didn't stop until dawn. Settling in, the next day, James suggested hiking to shake off the unease. Addie and Deshaun joined him, while the others stayed back. They returned hours later, pale and shaken. "There's stuff carved into the trees," James said, showing his phone. The pictures were worse than his description. Circles with crosses through them, eyeless faces, and stick figures bound with twine. "I swear we were followed," Addie added. "Every time we stopped, I heard something stop too, like footsteps." Scotty barked from the porch, staring into the woods as if she agreed. That evening, Madison cooked while Gwen explored the old upstairs rooms. Moments later, Gwen screamed from the bathroom. Everybody rushed in. Across the mirror, written in condensation, were the words,
"We see you."
The mirror was bone dry. No one had showered. After a while, it was known, but not forgotten. Snow fell hard overnight, cutting them off from the road. In the morning, Thomas went outside to test the trucks. He stopped, dead. Clawed barefoot tracks circled the cabin, pressed deep into the snow, not once, but dozens of times, over and over, like something had been walking the perimeter all night. But now, nerves were shredded. Madison vanished from the living room that evening. They searched in a frenzy until Scotty began barking wildly at the door. They followed her into the trees and found Madison standing there barefoot in the snow, gown soaked in red at the hem. The blood wasn't hers. A deer had been split open and nailed to a tree like a shrine. Madison had no memory of leaving the cabin. Alex brought her inside, chills down their spine, heart racing. Scotty refused to sleep, pacing in front of the door, hackles raised. At 2 a.m, Gwen shrieked awake. On the wall above her head, deep gouges spelled out words.
"One must stay."
The final night. The power died just before dawn. Darkness swallowed the cabin. Then came the footsteps on the roof, slow, heavy, and deliberate. The front door creaked open. The thing that stepped inside was taller than the doorway, its limbs wrong, its jaws splitting unnaturally wide. Deshaun swung the fire poker, but the creature seized it, snapping his arm like dry wood. His screams filled the cabin before the shadows pulled him away. James lunged with a knife, but blood sprayed across Addie's face as the darkness swallowed them both. Thomas tried to shield Gwen, but claws slashed across his chest, dropping him to the floor. The creature turned to Alex and Madison, and then a furious growl shook the cabin. Scotty lunged from the dark, her teeth sinking into the monster's throat. She ripped and tore the feral strength, driving the creature backward through the open door. Snow sprayed as she forced into the trees, its shrieks rattling the forest. The battle raged in the darkness behind the cabin. For endless minutes, the woods echoed with inhuman screams and the sound of tearing flesh, then silence. The family waited, holding their breath. Finally, Scotty emerged from the tree line, muzzles blooded, her tail stiff, her eyes still blazing with fury. She padded back into the cabin and laid down in front of Thomas, placing her head gently on his chest as if he was dying. She guarded him, and then they never returned. When the authorities eventually found the cabin weeks later, the walls were carved over and over with one phrase,
"One must stay."
But outside in the snow, paw prints led from the porch into the woods, strong, steady, and defiant. The legend spread. The cabin demanded a sacrifice, but it never expected a dog to be the one who stayed, fought, and won. Scotty had saved them all. This has been the Green 19 podcast with Thomas Strobush. Thank you so much for watching. Drop a like and subscribe for more. I have a lot more ideas. Drop some ideas in the comments too. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Ha